What's up, FilmPhantoms? How you doing? Welcome back. I've been gone for a minute, but Star Wars is out, so here we are. This is Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, the end of the entire main trilogy. This is the 9th film in this trilogy. Essentially, leading up to this movie was supposed to be, or at least this trilogy, each movie was supposed to be directed by a different director, essentially. J.J. Abrams directed The Force Awakens, Rian Johnson directed The Last Jedi, and Colin Trevorrow, if I'm not mistaken, was supposed to direct the last movie. Eventually, I don't know what happened, but eventually Trevorrow was kicked off of the project, or he left the project, whatever the case may be, and J.J. Abrams was brought back in order to finish this trilogy. It was disappointing. Overall summary, there's a lot of parts that I really liked in this movie, that just the part of me that is a Star Wars fanboy just was really satisfied with some of the things that happened. There's a lot of things that made me question just how this fit into the overall Star Wars lore, that just made me kind of questioning, and there's a lot of things that I really hated about this movie. So it's definitely a mixed bag. There's not really a lot I can say about this movie without giving into spoilers, but I will say that essentially it feels like he tried to make a second and a third movie all in the third movie, and you can see that's clearly the case right during the opening crawl and henceforth after that. The first hour to hour and a half of this movie is essentially probably what J.J. Abrams wanted to do in a second movie if he was directing The Last Jedi or whatever he would have named that movie, and then the last hour was essentially the third movie, and it feels like very disjointed, very all over the place, and it's just, the plot is just everywhere.
Waving inflatable arm flailing tube man.
Overall, even though the plot is essentially a fetch quest, a video game style movie where people are looking for this in order to get to this, and finding a person to get to that person to get to this in order to just figure out what's going on. That's basically what this movie is, the entire movie. There's just a lot of things about this movie when it comes to the plot, when it comes to the choices that they made with certain characters, just the overall power levels of certain characters when it comes to the Star Wars lore, and the ending, and just a lot of pandering. And you can tell after watching this movie and looking back at the other two films in the sequel trilogy that Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm didn't have a roadmap for these movies. They didn't. And if they did, and if they're saying that they did, then they're lying to you. Or they had a really crappy roadmap. And this movie came in and essentially slapped Rian Johnson in the face and said, you know what, I'm gonna answer this, I'm gonna answer that. And I feel like they essentially went through Twitter and went through Reddit and just saw all the things for the entire Star Wars movie base of things that people had to complain about or people had questions about, and they said, you know what, we're gonna answer that, we're gonna answer that, we're gonna answer that, we're gonna ignore that, we're gonna negate that. I don't think that that's a good style of filmmaking, a good style of storytelling. But let's go on to what I did like. Obviously, there's not a lot of things that are very cohesive throughout the trilogy, but Kylo Ren is one of those things that just has a beginning and an end as an arc. That is a satisfying arc, in my opinion. I think him, as well as Kylo Ren and Adam Driver as Kylo Ren throughout the three films, were something that you could hold on to, that had a satisfying just substance to his character, and I really enjoyed him, and I'm very satisfied with how his story concluded in this movie. I really appreciated that. I really liked what they did with Poe Dameron in this movie, because I feel like in the first two, there's not a lot of screen time, at least in the first one, and then the second one, his screen time is essentially he's there, but it doesn't really matter. And in this movie, I really like that they dove into his backstory, into where he's come from, and just more of the screen time and the bromance that he has with Finn as a character. So I appreciated that as well. The visuals, as always, with the money that Disney is putting out to make these movies, is obviously a good thing. It's a beautiful movie to watch. Some of the planets that they go to are pretty cool to see as well with what they chose to do. But like I said, this movie's at breakneck speed, so it's hard to even process what you're watching sometimes, because it's going so fast and they're going place to place, so you don't always have the time to admire even what's happening as good as it looks. The score, just like every other reviewer and person watching this movie has said, is amazing. John Williams has come back for his final movie, and he's brought back at least pieces of every score that he's done for the Star Wars trilogy. So even stuff like Duel of the Fates from the prequel trilogy, to the original themes, to the way that they incorporated race themes in a lot of parts of the movie. I really enjoyed the music, I really enjoyed the visuals, and I really enjoyed a lot of pieces of what's going on in the Rise of Skywalker, especially Kylo Ren. And there's things with Leia, Princess Leia or General Leia in this movie that I appreciated. I know that she obviously had passed away sadly before this movie had even begun filming, like, at all. So you can tell certain times where it's a little disjointed. You kind of you could tell that certain things are CGI'd or added in. I was semi-satisfied with what they were given, but again, that's a hard position to be in to conclude her thing when she's not around to film anything. So I applaud their effort there. Okay, so like I'm not trying to pile onto it. Again, I did enjoy the movie. It's a very cool adventure movie to watch. Just there was lots of times where I said like no, and I was just very mad at the screen. There's a lot of times like, oh, that's super cool. To have that mixed bag on top of a loose plot, not a loose plot is giving it credit. I'm disappointed. Overall, I'm gonna give this movie a C-. I would rank it in my bottom third of the 9 total core Skywalker saga films. And again, it's not the worst Star Wars movie out there in my opinion. It's just a lot of things, because everything's happening so fast and because the story is so disjointed that I should care about, I didn't have any feeling towards it. I was just apathetic to a lot of stuff that was happening on screen. And that's just not really the case that you want to have when you go to see a Star Wars movie. Even as bad as some of the prequel movies were, I felt a connection and a caring for the characters on screen. And in this movie, at least with some of the new characters, I just really didn't. With the exception of Kylo Ren. So that's just really what it is. Anyways, fellow Phantoms, I appreciate you guys stopping by. Sorry it was a little bit negative, but that's just what this movie was for me, in my opinion. If you have a different opinion, go ahead and put those in the comments below. If you have something else that you want me to take a look at review-wise, whether it's a series or a movie coming out soon, please put those in the comments below as well. Please subscribe. I'm gonna do my best to be more diligent and consistent with these videos going forward. I apologize for the break that I've been gone a little bit, but just hit subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified every time I'm coming out with a new video review or just other videos on this channel. And I just appreciate you stopping by. I'll see you guys next time.